Could the flaw you wanted to hide be your greatest strength? Today we explore Kintsugi for the soul, the idea of repairing what is broken so that the break itself becomes part of the beauty. Welcome to Mini Mind Hack. This is the first episode in a new series called Japanese Wisdom. You can find future videos from the series in the playlist Japanese Wisdom. Kintsugi is a Japanese craft. When a ceramic bowl or cup breaks, rather than hiding the damage, artisans repair it using lacquer mixed with powdered gold. The seams glow. The object is whole again, but its history is visible and celebrated. The practice took shape in Japan around the 15th century. One origin story tells of Ashikaga Yoshimasa, a shogun who sent a damaged tea bowl away for repair. It returned with crude metal staples. Japanese craftsmen then developed an alternative that treated the break as part of the object's story. Kintsugi sits inside a larger aesthetic, often called wabi-sabi, which finds beauty in impermanence and imperfection. Kintsugi is also connected to other strands of Japanese thought that I find inspiring. Zen teaches attention to the present moment and a quiet acceptance of what is. The tea ritual, the chanoyu, turns a simple cup into a focus of reverence, careful timing, and small gestures. Samurai ethics, or bushido, emphasize courage, integrity, and responsibility. These traditions are not prescriptions, they are perspectives. They offer practices and images that help us rethink how we relate to loss, failure, and repair. How does this apply to the human mind? Think of trauma or a painful life event as a crack. At first, the instinct is concealment. Hide the shame, patch over the shame, pretend the surface is unbroken. Kintsugi invites a different move. The crack is named, acknowledged, and then carefully worked into a new structure. The lacquer binds, the gold fills, and the object becomes stronger in the places it was weakest. Psychology has formal ways of talking about similar processes. Post-traumatic growth describes how people sometimes develop new strengths after adversity. Integration is the clinical idea of bringing fragmented experiences into a coherent narrative so they stop generating constant alarm. Acceptance and authenticity are about acknowledging who we are, including the parts that feel damaged. Kintsugi is a useful metaphor for all of this. The gold in the seam is not magic. It stands for new meanings, new skills, new capacities that arise as we repair. Let me give a short example. Several years ago, I worked with a person who had burned out after years of trying to be flawless at work. Initially, they hid their exhaustion. Then they lost a job. The break felt like a personal failure. Through therapy and coaching, they learned to name the constraints they had been living under. They practiced small rituals of pause. They set new boundaries, and they began to teach others about work-life balance. The shape of the person changed. Loss had not disappeared, but something like gold had been applied. Their experience became a resource and not only a wound. Kintsugi, when used as a psychological practice, suggests a few steps we can try in our own lives. First, acknowledge the crack. Say what happened, even if only to yourself. Use clear language rather than euphemism. Naming reduces the power that shame has over us. Second, invite support. Repair is often a social process. Friends, therapists, mentors, and communities act as hands that hold the object steady while the work is done. Third, add the gold. This means translating the experience into new meaning or skill. You can learn a craft, develop empathy, set different priorities, or channel the lesson into helping others. Fourth, ritualize the repair. Inspired by the tea ritual, create small acts that mark the change. It could be a written statement, a ceremony with friends, or a daily practice that reminds you of the new shape you are building. There are practical tools that echo Kintsugi. Journaling helps identify the cracks and track small repairs. Exposure and processing in therapy help integrate difficult memories so they do not run us unconsciously. Skills training turns reactive patterns into deliberate responses. Community and storytelling move private shame into shared narrative. None of these is instant. The lacquer needs drying time and the gold needs careful application. Patience is part of the method. I want to stress something important. Using kintsugi as a metaphor is not the same as romanticizing suffering. The aim is not to demand that people endure harm for the sake of beauty. It is to suggest that when harm has already occurred, repair can be an active, creative, and sometimes dignifying process. It is also not a substitute for structural change. Some damages come from social conditions that need political solutions. Kintsugi works alongside such efforts, not instead of them. Looking at the wider frame of Japanese wisdom, other concepts will be useful in later episodes. Wabi-sabi helps us see value in imperfection. Ikigai points toward purpose and small reasons to wake up each day. Shogunai, the acceptance of things beyond control, can free attention for work we can actually do. Mono no aware, an awareness of transience, asks us to appreciate the fragile gifts of the moment. Zen and the tea ceremony emphasize presence and reverence for ordinary acts. Samurai ethics remind us about responsibility and courage without glamorizing violence. Together, these ideas offer a toolkit for living with cracks and, when possible, filling them with gold. If you want to start practicing kintsugi in daily life, try a simple exercise. Take a quiet moment and write down one event that still feels like a fissure. Then list one small, concrete action you could take that would count as repair. It might be reaching out to someone, setting a boundary, learning a new skill, or simply naming what you feel. Do that action within a week. Notice what changes in how you hold that memory. That is the beginning of applying gold. Before we close, a gentle reminder about community. Repair is often visible when we share. If you feel safe, consider telling one person about a scar you have and what you learned from it. If you want prompts or a space to reflect, I will add resources and discussion prompts in the description under this video. Kintsugi asks us to look at the seams and say, yes, here is what happened, and here is what we made from it. Maybe you are not broken. Maybe you are being remade. Maybe the places where you once felt weak are exactly where your new strength shows. Thank you for watching. If this resonated, subscribe and join the journey. I will be adding more episodes to the Japanese Wisdom series, and you can find them in the playlist Japanese Wisdom. Share your thoughts or small repairs in the comments, and if you have a story you want to anonymize and share, I may fold it into a future episode. See you next time.